Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 32nd episode of Brace for Impact.
Oh yeah.
Yay.
Oh
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I have
yeah.
to remember which stage left and stage right is because it's been 3 weeks,
uh,
but we're
uh,
back.
uh, yeah. A little
Yeah, and
bit.
I'm coming to you not from the great land of Australia, but hey, well, shout out to Phoebe.
Shout out Phoebe.
Anyway, yeah,
I
we
do
got, I
not have a
believe,
shirt left that has an American flag on it to potentially hold out. All of the jerseys are gone.
yeah,
Except
it's good. It's
yeah.
good. It's
I'm glad they've all are on their way to their homes. I haven't received word yet on any of the
yeah. I haven't. I was just gonna say I haven't seen enough photos on Twitter
So yeah,
for
I
these
know
jerseys.
I know for a fact that people are getting them because like Danny showed me his, Isaac popped his in. Snav messaged me saying that he got his. I know a bunch of people that I gave them to at Dallas or at Valencia, not Dallas. At Valencia, they all got theirs. I know for a fact they did because I hand delivered them to the players and everything like that. I haven't received any word from the British contingent yet. I'm waiting. I'm eagerly like they better tell me
Is the
soon.
British contingent just? Oh wait, it's B Dog Lucy and well, not Lucy, right?
Yes,
It would
Lucy
just
got one.
be
She's
yes, but she's Australian,
but she
but
lives
she's
in
living in the
she
UK.
lives in the
Yeah,
UK, so
yeah,
that
yeah.
she counts as the British contingent.
Don't do
That's
that to her. Don't do that to
if I
her.
had if I had to get a British person to ship it to you, you're part of the British contingent, and I don't want to hear anything else about that.
That's all right. All right, that's
Um,
fair.
Listen, we got two big things to talk about this time. The first thing
Yes.
was, I guess the third little one is, hi, we were delayed for a week. Turns out travel is kind of a thing. Um,
Yeah. Yep.
I ended up taking the Monday off to chill in Valencia, kind of as a prep before the travel day, and then Tuesday was my travel day. So there was absolutely no
Yeah.
chance that this episode was
Even
gonna
if
get
you
out.
had not like taken that Monday
I
off,
got
like
home at I got
you would have
home
been
at
traveling back
dude.
Monday anyway. So
I
like,
got home
no,
at
there's no way.
9 o'clock on a Tuesday after a 9 hour flight. And
PM,
then
I take it.
9 p.m. Yeah, I got home 9
Okay.
p.m. I left Frankfurt at like 3. And then of course the 6 hours you lose coming back and everything, and then I had to work the next day. So I
You
was
don't lose it coming back. You gain it coming back, don't you?
sorry. Yeah,
You lose it going out.
the six
Yeah.
hours I gained. I went
Got
minus
back.
6. I went negative
Didn't
6.
lose.
Yeah, I don't know. My body said I don't know what time zone you're in anymore, so we're gonna be awake and asleep in like two different cycles here. I finally we've it took a few days, but I finally kind of okay. I'm back to my normal
Quick
space.
question on that,
Yeah,
by the way, and I'm just curious. Did you do any sleep prep for Valencia, knowing you were going to
no,
lose the 6 hours?
God
Like,
no.
oh,
I slept two
mate.
hours. No, so I slept 2 hours on the flight from Toronto to Frankfurt, and then I slept the entire. And Bouchard can attest to this because we were ended up being on the same flight together. I slept the entire flight from Frankfurt to Valencia. It was a 2 hour flight, and I was in one of the fire escape seats, so I had all the leg room. I conked. I was done, and I woke up. I woke up twice. I woke up once over the Alps, looked down at because I had a window seat. I looked out the
Oh,
window,
that's
went,
nice.
"Oh, those are the Alps. Cool." And then I went back to
Yeah.
sleep, and then I woke up again just before we hit the ground in Valencia. So I saw all ocean, and I was like, "Am I gonna die?" Because I felt us descending, and I'm like, "That's water. Where are we?"
Yeah, I feel like that way when we descended into Philly on the way back from Dallas because the
Yeah.
runway literally starts at the water. Like
Mm-hmm.
it starts up
Mm-hmm.
to the water. So you're just going down and down. The water's getting bigger and bigger, and you're like, uh. But you know, they're so well trained. But I will say, you know what will solve that sleep problem though, or the legroom
I
problem.
had no
That you
issues
didn't have the
otherwise.
problem, but I'm
No.
saying, any future flights,
Mm-hmm.
you just fly first class. But then
Business economy, Benny. Business
I'm
economy.
probably
Those
flying
saw
first to Stockholm if I go to Stockholm,
you're
bro.
such a
So
I
bougie
honestly
Benny's back, baby.
bougie Benny. I don't think I would make the Sweden trip. I'll be honest. I don't know if I could commit.
Yeah,
It's a hit or miss. It depends if I really
yeah.
want to commit to it. It would be a hell of a lot of fun. It would
I have.
depend entirely if the talent was actually in the venue. If it's in
Oh,
Sweden,
that's true.
because that was the thing with Valencia was I had already booked everything. Like I was gonna go regardless because there was a group of us that were going. But when we learned that the talent wasn't gonna be there, like talent was crushed. We were crushed because like, dude, there's like 9 of us English speakers that are like, we came here to watch the North American teams, like we're gonna and like HSG, like we're here to watch the games and everything, but like we have nothing else to do here other than kind of walk around
Yeah.
Valencia. And it's like, well, we weren't. I was
Yeah.
here for the games. Like, I think of all of us, Chris was the only one who actually managed to get to the beach, and that's because he missed almost all of day 3.
If I walk in a direction long enough.
Yeah, he was basically just like, I've taken the metro, I'm gonna go to the beach. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah,
We
that's
messaged
fair.
him, he's like, the finals have started. And he's like, bet, I'm on my way back. And he missed like all of map 1.
Oh my
Because it
god.
went so fast.
And then
And
he
he
was
got,
there for the 13-0. Oh
yeah,
my
he
god.
just, and he got there for the 13. That was, anyways.
Anyway,
Speaking of
speaking of
Valencia.
Valencia,
Yeah.
that is yeah, let's get into it, right? So
Yeah.
it's the last big tournament of the year. It's a huge tournament. There was a lot of build up. You know, North American's closest season ever. HSG coming back in after this, downward trend.
Yeah.
For the previous 3 lands. Fluxo kind of limped in there because MIBR were threatening. Davina looked like they had a chance for a moment.
Yeah.
Furia looked really, really strong going into the event. They were actually the #1 team in the world coming into the
They
event
were.
because of the timings of the events, and Enigma don't play that many events and things like that. So, but nonetheless, let's get into it. Let's start with the actual one piece of news that we do have to start with, and that is that Shimmer had an unfortunate accident happen, and it meant that they had to yield an emergency stand-in.
I'm
So
so
Abby thought she broke her hand, and
it's a
instead
wrist
she
fissure. Not a fracture,
yes.
it's a
So
fissure. It was a 15-day
yes,
injury. I can provide a little bit more context on that one. I wasn't there, but
yes.
basically they had done a long day of practice and media day, and they were kind of on their way out. Abby saw a fence, went, I jump fences all the time back home. There shouldn't be
Went
an issue.
parkour.
Yeah, parkour.
Parkour.
Went to do some parkour, and the fence section that she jumped over turned out to be a gate. So it moved, and
Oh
she
no!
was not ready for that, and so she ended up having a wrist fissure, which it's a 15-day heal. The That's not the only bit of news for Shimmer, at least, like, because you have to remember I was there. So Lynn did not get in until day of, or no, she got in a little bit after the Abby incident, because she had to drive from California to Arizona to renew her passport because nobody told her that you could not go to Europe with 1 month before expiry. She thought she'd be fine. It has to be a minimum 3 months before expiry.
That's so odd. Like, what the hell's the
And
whole point of an expiration date on a passport?
And the greatest part is nobody told her at ESL. So the people that are telling you for travel, here's your itinerary. By the way, usually you need 3 you need 3 months to get into the EU. They didn't say anything. And because everything was booked in California, she had to drive to Arizona to get an emergency thing, to then hop on a plane, 20-hour flight to get to the venue. She got there after the whole thing with Abby. Unfortunate. They get 80 to stand in with them. She was pretty cool.
ID,
yes. Right, ID.
Yeah.
Spanish player, used to play for Big
Vodafone Giants Red.
and
Way back in the day.
Yeah.
Way back.
I
in the
believe
day.
she's on a project roster now. Like, players are just kind of trying to see if they can make it.
Yeah, something
it's
like that.
It's listed as Yumi. I have no idea, man. It's one of those things.
That's an old team from the Cash Cup, I think. She's basically stopped playing competitively, and she might play like in the ESEA leagues as like a pickup, but she doesn't. It's not like it's not competitively in the terms of like she's striving to be in the Impact League.
No,
and all
it's
that
just one of
like
those things.
She's moved
like
on.
she plays a little bit, but
yeah, and her career's progressed as well. So it's like she's kind of transitioned out into that. 100%. So yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where Shimmer got left with in terms of that there. So they're playing with a stand-in, playing in the group of death, as we called it, because of all the teams and such a shakeup. But getting into it, let's start with Group A. We had HSG to start the day off, going up against Enigma Galaxy. Enigma Galaxy 13-10 win, fairly close. There was a lot of gaps that got exploited by Enigma against HSG. So that knocked HSG to the lowers, and then we get Fluxo Demons versus FlyQuest Red, and that goes to Inferno. And Benny, I cannot tell you how much I hate Inferno now in CS2. Like, it's not even just.
You were talking about this yesterday.
I talked about this a lot yesterday on the Cash Cup stream that I did with Connie, and like, dude, there's something about the way nades work now and how enclosed some of the areas are. That's just it hurts my head to watch. I genuinely do not. I genuinely do not enjoy Inferno anymore. Inferno is kind of taken over from where Dust 2 used to be in my mind. Dust 2 I hated to watch.
Oh,
I hated
I don't
Dust
know
2
if
to
I'd say
watch.
something that egregious, mate,
I
but
hated to watch Dust 2. Inferno's kind of
I'd
taken
still
that
do.
spot now. Yeah, watching Dust 2 is horrible. I do not want to watch Dust 2. Inferno's kind of taking that spot now in the active pool of being, why are you here? This map does not make sense anymore. Bring back Train, please.
Yes, but I would rather take it at the expense of Mirage. Nonetheless, outside of that, we got one of the plays of the tournament on that map, and that's Julie's 1v4
Yeah, it was insane.
versus FlyQuest Red, which was just insane.
Heartbreaking.
1v4s.
So heartbreaking.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But oh, it was unbelievable.
I'm gonna give you a
And
little tidbit
FlyQuest, I
here.
think,
Sorry,
had
just
the
before we keep going, I just want to give you a
yeah.
little tidbit before the start of this match. Or sorry, yeah, it was before
Yeah.
the start of this match. I want to say, or was this one, or was the one where FlyQuest played HSG? The vlog, you saw the vlog that FlyQuest put out, kind of the 7-minute thing they put on Twitter.
I actually haven't yet.
You haven't watched it? Okay, so there's a few
haven't watched
cameos
it.
from us because we were supporting the team and we
Yeah.
were there.
Yeah.
At one point, the social media person walked over to us and was like, "Can you guys like do a fake cheer for the vlog?" Because there's nothing happening on stage at all. It's like a break between maps.
Right.
And we were
Was
like,
it Park Mom or was it?
"No, it wasn't Park Mom. It was somebody else."
Chloe?
Yeah, I think so. Chloe or no, not Chloe.
Okay.
Not it wouldn't have been Chloe. I think her name was Jen. I think
Oh,
she just does social media for FlyQuest. But she came over. She's like, "Hey guys, like, can you do just like a cheer or something?" And they just gotta like get pumped and get loud. And we're all kind of like looked at each other. We're like, "Yeah, okay." So there's like 10 seconds of us like, "Yeah, let's go!" Like just kind of yelling at the camera specifically, and it never made the vlog. And it kind of made me laugh after the fact because I was like, "Man, that was so cringe. Why did we do that?" But I get the I don't know. There's just that game between Fluxo and FlyQuest felt kind of dead after the I felt like things were falling flat, and then they came back. And I was like, okay, OT, and again fell flat. It was pretty streaky.
We got OT, but then
it was. I don't know the game.
I think they got swept out the OT if I remember correctly.
They got swept, and it felt like the OT felt wrong. Like Cowday was making a lot of really good plays during the match, but then everything else, something felt wrong. When you're watching, it's like something is not. There's like a switch that hadn't clicked, and everything else, they get to a really close point, or something would happen, and they get really close to getting the kills or something, and it would just. So, yeah, I don't know.
I felt the same way. It really feels like FlyQuest need a little bit more time, and not with the roster. I just think losing Flashy, I think, is a big loss for this team that they haven't really resolved yet. And I'm not saying that like Munster's not going to be the solution. I ain't saying that. I'm just saying like I don't think you see it, right? You see it in football a lot. I'm going to make another football comparison, excuse me. But a team performs poorly. Not that FlyQuest did. I don't think they did before Flashy. But But generally, in football, a team will perform poorly. They get a manager change. You get that honeymoon period, right?
Yeah.
And then once the old tactics from the previous manager have kind of been hammered away, out of the side, then you get to how well they're actually performing under new game. I feel like there's an element of that in FlyQuest. I feel like they were in a really good spot with Flashy. Flashy had him really firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
He leaves to take up a bigger opportunity. Nobody's blaming him. He's doing pretty good at Navi. And then you get this new coach in, and it's one of these things where like they're in between that period where they haven't hammered out everything that Flashy, gave them.
Yeah.
But then, they haven't fully integrated what the team's trying to do under Munster. So I feel like they're in this for lack of a better word, flux state, and that's the problem right now with FlyQuest Red. I felt like that was definitely the case here on Inferno.
Yeah.
I'd have to actually look at the veto itself because I don't think FlyQuest would have wanted to take them to Inferno. In fact, Fluxo their perm is Mirage, and that's one of the two that Fluxo play. But yeah, Fluxo removed Overpass in the second in the second round of vetoes.
Yeah.
So because they know that FlyQuest play it. Like, they're the two maps that you're gonna
Yeah, it was Anubis
FlyQuest are
or
gonna
Inferno.
want.
And it's like,
Yeah,
I don't
so,
think you want to play Fluxo on Anubis. It's just one of those maps. So like,
no,
there's a
because
lot more reps that they get down there. I I wish they kept
I'm
Ancient
going to
in the
come
pool.
back to that Anubis with Fluxo, because I think, real quick, if you're FlyQuest, you're looking at it and say, well, this team's confident in picking it. They've picked it a lot recently.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with Inferno. We're a little bit more comfortable on that, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Anubis is like the Achilles heel for Fluxo right now, but we'll get to that in a moment. Let's get to the winners match.
Yeah.
Fluxo versus Nigma. That was on Vertigo, and oh boy, the mic drop. It's
Vertigo.
Fluxo that down Nigma on land
Yeah,
at Impact.
Vertigo was that pick that like we'll come back to this a little bit later, but like Vertigo was a weak point for Nigma this land. Like there was something on Vertigo that just they couldn't overcome it. There was just this weird like boogeyman that they came through, and Fluxo
Yeah.
was the first one to say, "Hey, we're here," beating them into on the winners match, securing day 3 for themselves. And it
Yeah.
wasn't even really that close. It was a 13-6. Like it was. I wasn't even at the venue at the time. I think I'd gone back to like take a nap, or not to take a nap, but like grab something or other from the hotel because we were like 2-minute walk away from the hotel.
Yeah.
So I took a step away and I come back and it's 5-1. I'm like, okay. And then I look down. I'm kind of getting myself set in my seat or whatever, and I look up and all of a sudden it's 8-2. And I'm like this is getting wild. Like where are we at? And it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling, and then Fluxo kind of took it over. And there was a few rounds where it's like, oh shoot, Enigma's making a comeback. Like they've gotten a few rounds. It's match point, but they could potentially bring this. No, Fluxo looked way far ahead, and they dominated.
It was a 9-3 half, Parks.
Yeah.
It was a 9-3.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing, right? First off, number one, Poppins went berserk on this
Yeah.
map. Like, Poppins was insanely clutch on this map. And everybody, I think Lucy did a fantastic job. I think it was Lucy that pointed it out on broadcast, but said that Julie, since the switch to CS2, has been like one of the best players in the world. And like, she showed that in the FlyQuest game, and then she showed it here as well. So when you have Poppins and her clutch ability, like, she's just very good in the clutch. And then you have Julie, who's just got that pure firepower. Like, you're always gonna have a chance, and that's what they did here. I think the problem with Nigma and the Vertigo is they don't like the map. So if you listen to interviews, right, which I know you can't read a huge ton into, right? But if you listen to them, Fluxo said, it's not our third map, but we play it. We don't mind it. You know what I mean? We don't mind Vertigo. But if you listen to Vilgan and all them saying they want Vertigo out of the map pool, they don't like Vertigo at all. Well, you don't like a map. Guess what? You're not gonna play it. You're not gonna practice on it as much. It's you have a perma if you are Nigma, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of these things where you're just gonna get rid of your perma, and you're always gonna leave it open because you hate it, but you play it.
Yeah.
Well, because other teams that are willing to be more drilled on it or more disciplined on it are going to take you to town on it, and that's what happened here. And that the thing is, if you look back at Masters Femininas, right?
Yeah.
Okay, granted, not the one leading up to this event, Masters Feminina 8, but you go back to Masters Feminina 7, which Fluxo won on Go. They played Vertigo a lot, and they beat Furio on it, right? So they like the map. They're willing to play the map. So I just think it's one of these things where, the theme was that, Nigma don't like Vertigo, and they didn't look great on Mirage. Yes, they won against HSG, but they looked mortal on it. And that seems to, now I don't know, it's probably going to change by season 5, but that seems to be the formula on how to beat them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is a piece of foreshadowing that I'm going to give you, because we need to mosey on and get to the elimination match between HSG and FlyQuest Red.
Yeah, this one comes in day 2. It's the first match of the day, and I don't even know where to begin with it, because they brought it to OT against Fluxo Demons, and it was one of those games that you said something's not clicking. And then we come into the first match on Ancient, and just something, again, it felt wrong, but it was to a little bit worse a degree. and it was a 13-6. They get nothing on their T side, like nothing was working. It was a 6-6 half, and HSG just got 7 rounds in a row to close it out. And then you get to Overpass, and you're like, okay, FlyQuest Red, Overpass is a really good map for them and everything. They got 2 rounds. They were just, there was nothing in the tank. Like it felt like there was just nothing there. It's like they were throwing a balloon at a brick wall, trying to make the wall fall over.
Yeah.
There's just, I don't know. It felt like it felt wrong, and I don't know where it went wrong. I don't know why it felt so bad, and I don't know how much is taken to stock that HSG had a really good tournament considering the next match in this group. But
yeah,
it's like something felt wrong this tournament with FlyQuest Red, and I don't know where to put it in terms of why it felt wrong, because they had a really strong boot camp apparently before.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, and they played well in advance on the lead up to it.
They played well in advance, and they had a perfect season in Impact before this, which is pretty good.
What was I gonna say? Okay, this time last year, Parks, at the end of season 2, we said EG has, or at least I said, EG have a confidence problem, right?
Yeah.
FlyQuest Red have a confidence problem. Look at his veto. Okay, you get your decider map. Do you want Vertigo? Do you want Mirage? And your FlyQuest Red. Mirage has been your bread and butter for like 5 ESEA seasons. And what do? You vetoed it? Where's your head at? Like, where is their head at?
Yeah.
That I understand the Overpass pick.
I do.
Day,
yeah.
The expectation is you were going to play that against HSG. HSG are a pretty good Overpass team. They play Overpass a lot. You remember that they absolutely smoked DG at season 2 on it.
Oh yeah.
When they made the run to the
100%.
semifinal. So yeah, they play Overpass. You know what I mean? You know they're going to pick the Ancient. I would have removed the Ancient and tried to play him on Inferno. You did have a 6-6 half, and you threw away the T side.
I would have even maybe thrown in an Anubis just to try and see if you could throw him off. I don't know. I don't know what HSG does on Anubis. Like I don't know. I think there were other choices that they could have done with the map pick.
I think the thing is, FlyQuest banned Inferno first, and had they banned Ancient, HSG probably would have picked the Inferno. So you're playing one of the two, right? And you just lost on Inferno, but you played well against Fluxo, who's just down Nigma. Like
there's something there. You
play your Inferno. Yeah, exactly.
There's familiarity.
But yeah, they looked way out of it. And I will say one thing with HSG, that the previous LAN in Dallas, they didn't have Xiao Wu, I believe. They had to have Naomi stand in for her.
And they were also on extreme jet lag because they had flown in like 2 days before. At least with this tournament, like they had a week where they were in Spain beforehand, adjusting to everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Like there's so many different factors for HSG coming into this one. That's I think that's a big really help with them. So
yeah, that's a really good point. But Xiao Wu looked
so good.
Really good. I was like, whoa, man. So yeah, she looked impressive. HLTV still hasn't updated the.
They never will. They never will. Let's be real.
But actually, I think they just did, but still no pictures. Anyway, nonetheless, she played great in the series. Olga played really good. Like the Olga of old was back.
That was the Olga that we were expecting.
Yep. So
that's what we hoped for when we first saw her in season 3 with the team. Again, huge jet lag, huge issues for HSG. This time around,
she had just been in the side too. Like
it hadn't been too long. So so they go up against Nigma to decide who makes it to day 3, because it's day 2, mind you, at this point. And Vertigo overpass Ancient, and Vertigo extremely close, 16-13. And again, it was one of those things of like HSG, I think HSG had the early lead and they squandered it, I want to say. I don't exactly remember.
But Nigma were kind of there the whole way on Vertigo.
They were close. They were close the entire way. I mean, it was a 6-6 half, so what are you going to say? And then Overpass comes in, and OT Pass did not disappoint at all. No. I had a meme on my phone that said, "In OT Pass we trust." Let me see if I can pull it up, because I had it ready for the camera, basically.
Nice. Well, while you do that, let me just say, it was 22-20 for HSG, and that forced OT's pass to trust. Yes, there you go. And then we got the Ancient as the last map, which Nigma just blew HSG away on. So it was a really really good veto for HSG. Like that is the one thing I will say. They definitely played to their strengths with this
Yeah.
veto, right?
Yeah.
I think the unfortunate thing is they didn't win the Vertigo overtime. Had they
If
won the Vertigo overtime,
think it would
the
have been.
place would have went. I think the place would have went nuts, mate. Like,
When I tell you, so here was the distribution of seating. It was us in the HSG side, and Apples was the only one cheering for Nigma out of all of us. Everybody else wanted, because the Shimmer girls at this point were there chilling with us, like Bouchard and a few others. They were all kind of chilling around us, and we were cheering for HSG. And then Nigma had their section, and there was quite a few people there cheering on Nigma. But yeah, like when HSG were winning rounds, like Snicky and I were screaming. Like it was great. I was like nearly jumping up out of my seat after every single kind of good round and stuff. I was there for it. So yeah, it was a really good match, and honestly, like everybody I talked to said that should have been the grand finals. Like even with the sour map 3, you get that map 2 all day, and it's just so
and map
it's
one,
so
map one
good.
was OT. So.
Map but it can't compare that 22-20, man. Just every single
Oh,
round
I
and forth.
know.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I feel like in MR12 we've had a lot more OTs come through than we did in MR15. I feel like I don't know. I feel personally, like anecdotally, I've noticed that you get OT a lot more, even if it's just like you get 1 or 2 OTs. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm noticing it a lot more. So, anyways, Nigma Galaxy do win out, and so they do get by in as the second seed of Group A to go to day 3 to make it to the semifinals. That leaves us with Group B. And starting off their matches was Nine Pandas going up against Furia, and Nine Pandas on day 1 looked really good, and they showed
they
it
did
early
a bit
on.
of a fly quest as well, didn't they?
Yeah, 13-10 up against Furia, and um and it looked really strong throughout. Like it was a good match along the whole way. It always kind of felt like Nine Pandas were gonna take that one. You know, there was always like that little bit extra.
While it was going on, you mean?
Yeah, while it was going on, it was like it.
Yeah.
Beforehand, you look at that, you go Furia, but
Yeah,
like there,
that's
you're
what I
like,
was-
oh, there's something here that like
Yeah.
Nine Pandas are cooking.
I was gonna say the thing that you said about like FlyQuest, something seemed off. Like something
Yeah.
seemed off about Fury and this Nubis, because I'm like, you have picked this almost exclusively
Yeah.
for the past like 2 months. Like you should be absolutely schooling everybody on this
Yeah.
map, and yet uh, you've
Nothing.
lost the Nine Pandas, who,
Yeah.
yes, they play the map. Don't get me wrong, they love this map.
Yeah.
But they don't get to pick it or play it as often as other maps that they play, right? So it's like, but like, why? I was surprised that they lost the Nine Pandas, and I thought, look, they won nerves. They're back at land for the first time in like a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll give them a break, right? Nine Pandas go through to the upper bracket final, and we get Navi versus Shimmer. And listen, fair play to Shimmer, because they didn't necessarily roll over on this
No,
one. 13-7.
They fought. They fought real hard.
Yeah.
I really like Ancient for them, and I mean even with the stand-in, like they figured out kind of how to play around. I think it enhanced the viewing experience so much more sitting next to Abby while they played, and like it was rough for her watching them play. And I mean like Haku came down and talked to her a little bit after as well, just because it was one of those things of just like, hey, like we know what you're going through right now. We see everything. Like,
Yeah.
no, you're fine. Like this is one of those things that just like you have to let it sit, and you can't think about it too much. But like 13-7, I did find out the next day, because Honka said it on the Honka said it during the decider match, like just before the decider match. Navi Javelins had actually gotten food poisoning on Friday. They were all pretty sick.
Oh
Friday.
no!
So
Really?
they were not. Yeah, they were not playing on all cylinders. They were very. They were. I think she said all of them had been ill on Friday, and that's so they weren't playing as well as they were. I don't even care about that point though, because like, okay, so you've got 5 ill players playing up against 4 with a stand-in who doesn't know anything and is
Literally,
Sweet's
she was
okay.
wearing a
Sweet's-
jersey with an American flag on it.
Well, yeah. So
because,
they grabbed
like,
Tess's jersey.
yeah.
I want to say they grabbed
Yeah.
one of the people that was going to get a jersey, kind of on their way back, because Abby was going to wear hers, like sitting next to Snicky and I, because it was going to be the three of us kind of sitting together with our jerseys.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like I'm not preparing a Spanish flag jersey just in case something happens. Anyways.
Yeah, I know. I'm there.
Yeah, so it was one of those things of just like, I think it ended up being a fairly even match, because you've got a player who had no idea what the rest of the team is going to be doing, and she didn't really speak the best English, unfortunately. It was one of those things that just like, she was there, so like they had her, she was already coming, she was using other people's peripherals. It was a big cluster, but at the end of the day, it was it was nice of her to do it, and it was, I think at the end of the day, a 13-7. I think Shimmer showed strength.
Yeah, and the other thing to remember too is they didn't have their coach, so
they don't. Yeah, they actually, Snav is no longer a coaching Shimmer. He's
okay.
That's passed by. Well, as soon as Lisa left, I think that chapter ended. So,
and I understood that. I just didn't know, like, if
he
was going to see the season
so
out.
He was
or like
he stayed because of ECL, right? He stayed home because of ECL,
right.
But at the same time, it was one of those things of just like, he had.
You knew that he was going to be on the way out the door.
Yeah, he was already heading to, like, listen, I got other stuff I need to take care of. I'm too big. I'm not going to be able to help you as much.
I will say one thing though, like they played pretty good under him. Like he potentially has the opportunity to be a coach in the future. They were playing pretty well under him. So
his style of coaching is very interesting. I had long conversations with the Shimmer girls, because I spent a lot of time with them over the weekend. So I had many questions, and much talking about, just like, hey, like, what are you looking for in a coach? Because now all of a sudden you're looking for a coach, and they say, well, this is what Snav was doing for us, and this is what kind of we're looking at. Pretty cool. Anyways, winners match. 9 Pandas Fearless going up against Navi Javelins. And usually you look at this and go, Navi, who cares? It's fine. Nope. 9 Pandas, like I said, day 1 champions. 13-3 on this Vertigo match. They rocked Navi on this one. And
how much did the food poisoning have to play in this?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, because you look at the day 2, or you look at day 3. Excuse me. You look at day 3 of, like, how 9 Pandas played and how, like, Fluxo played, and it's just like, just wasn't. It wasn't there. Neither of them were there on day 3. Neither of them were there on day 3. Whereas Navi, at least, were kind of there.
I mean, 9 Pandas were kind of there too, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's move on to the elimination match, shall we? Furia versus Shimmer. I think everybody knew this was going to be Furia.
13-4, 13-5.
Yeah.
Hey,
so pretty standard again.
They got more rounds than EG Gold did at season 2 finals.
I said that in the chat too. They cleared the EG benchmark with a stand-in and no coat.
We don't even have to math it out of, like, did they reach 13 rounds in total over an MR? Like, is it MR 15 versus MR? No. They cleared the goal no matter what. It's fine.
But they did well. Shimmer, for all of the circumstances,
for everything they went through, they did really well. So I come back very proud of them, and I mean, this is why we're wearing the jerseys. This is why we got them jerseys. Like, we want to show how proud we are, and so we get them with that. By the way, I had a total fangirl moment when they zoomed in on Bouchard's sleeve and showed the brace for impact thing.
Did they?
Like,
I didn't catch the zoom.
It was. I'm gonna have to. I must have made a note somewhere. I made a note somewhere.
I mean, the stream's still good. It's good for 60 days. So.
We'll go back and clip it then.
Was it during the series versus Furia?
I think it was during the series. Hold on.
We'll do it later. Let's mosey on, shall we?
Check VOD before round 20. Yeah, okay. So it's probably around there.
VOD before round 20.
Of Shimmer versus Navi.
Oh, Shimmer versus Navi. Okay.
They showed it. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So Furia through. Everybody kind of expected it.
Yeah.
But like I said, Shimmer played well for all the things that they had going on. It did mean that Navi were going to play Furia for the decider match. And my bracket's busted, mate. I am not a bracketologist. Okay.
Man was not cooking.
Man is not hot right now. Okay?
Yeah, 13-5 on Anubis. Furia came back 13-8 on Ancient, and then it was a 13-9 on Mirage. So, I mean, all in all, it was a pretty good match. It was pretty, you got teams know their map picks and everything. They knew their maps, and
I just saw it.
what?
I'll give you the link. I'll give you the
Cool.
link. Okay.
And so it ended up being going the way of Navi, which is good for them. And like I said, this is where Honka said, "Hey, we kind of had food poisoning yesterday. We're feeling a lot better today," and it showed, honestly. Like you look at the comparison between the two, and it's like, oh yeah, this is the Navi that I know they were kind of looking for, and maybe they were still kind of dealing with it a little bit, but like the majority of it there is great. Okay. That leaves us then with the playoffs. So the semifinals are Navi Javelins going up against Fluxo and Nigma Galaxy going up against Nine Pandas Fearless. And you have to remember, day one, Nigma looked kind of shaky because they had that close game against HSG, and then they had the loss to Fluxo. And then they start picking up steam on day two by beating out HSG on a marathon series. And then they come into the semifinals, and the first map is a 13-4 on Inferno. And it's like, Nigma feels like they're back, and then all of a sudden they go to Mirage and it's OT, and it's like, hold on a second, are Nine Pandas now going to do something amazing and potentially take a map off of Nigma? It wasn't to be. Nigma took the series 2-0, so they moved on to the grand finals, and then we come to Fluxo Demons versus Navi Javelins, and this is a weird one because you look at it and you're like, Fluxo looked really strong day one. They've had the day to practice day two and get ready. And again, that switch, there's something missing. Switch needed to be flicked, and it just never was. And so it was a 13-7 on Anubis and a 13-5 on Vertigo, which is like, you just played the best team on Vertigo and crushed them. And now you yourself kind of got a little crushed. It's like,
So, here's what I'll say about the two semifinals, right?
Yeah.
First off, let's go to Nine Pandas Fluxo, right? Yeah. I feel like the only thing I would have made a little bit different is that, like, so Nigma banned Anubis because I saw what Nine Pandas did on it. Yeah. Totally the right ban. Nine Pandas banned Nuke. Totally the right ban, as we're going to come to find out. Nigma picked Inferno. Nine Pandas picked Mirage. I would have taken the Vertigo there because Nigma's taking that out second round, right?
Yeah.
And they've shown weakness on it, right? And then what'll probably happen is you get Mirage, Ancient, and Overpass left over, right? Nigma probably takes, I want to say they take Overpass out. They could potentially take Mirage out there.
Yeah.
But they're going to play for the Ancient, and you could ban the Ancient and then play like the Mirage, or you could ban the Ancient and then play the Overpass, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have fancied, obviously they didn't win on the Mirage, but it was OT, to be fair.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have fancied them on the Overpass.
No.
But I feel like you could have taken it to a 3-mapper, and that puts a little bit more pressure back on Nigma, right? Because they're up against the edge, right?
Yeah.
So I don't, that's what I would have done differently. But you got to win the Mirage, like, either way, right? In the end, and Nine Pandas just came up a little bit short. So look, Kat played phenomenal in the whole tournament.
Yeah.
And she really helped them there. In terms of the other series, though, really Fluxo went.
Just
what'd you say?
Shout out to Fatal, by the way, just because I know, like, I personally was cheering on for her to hopefully do something really cool. Because it's like, oh yeah, we just had you on the podcast. I did not talk to Fatal at all, by the way, during the LAN. I did not get the chance. I talked to a bunch of other people, but like, I did not talk to Fatal. I should have said something. I should have said like, hey, you remember? You remember? Oh, I did the arm thing. You remember this?
Hey, they're gonna be back for like season 5 and 6 because
because
all of Europe is apparently going to the LAN. More on that in a minute.
Have fun.
But the other semifinal is what I wanted to say is that I thought Junger actually played pretty decently, but like Julie was dynamite the whole series. Wasn't really here.
Yeah.
Poppins wasn't like clutch. Nani, who back in Go was like insanely good, is now like all of a sudden kind of not there. So like it just the
Yeah.
team didn't show up, man. And it wasn't like they I'm not saying it was like capitulation. I'm just saying like it's just one of these things where they just didn't have their best game
And
on the day they
Viku
needed it
went
most. And
absolutely insane, as did
yeah, that's the other part I was gonna. But yeah, VQ went absolutely flipping nuts with the AWP,
and
like nuts.
just and Angelica the day before as well against Furia. Like they were slaying demons left, right, and center between them all. So the Brazilian
One
demons.
other thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
that was my last statement there.
The one other thing I want to say about this is that, listen, I love Fluxo Demons. They're probably, I don't know if they're my favorite team in the world, but they're one of my two favorite teams in the world, right? Obviously with Fluxo being the other. I mean, not Fluxo, FlyQuest being the other. But guys, you've got like remember how I was always told FlyQuest stop picking Mirage, right? Stop picking Anubis, please. For the love of God. They have picked it so many times against Furia, they haven't won it.
Yeah.
They picked it here, they didn't win it.
Yeah.
Like this team is really good on other maps. They're very good on Vertigo. They didn't show it against Navi, unfortunately, but they're very good on Vertigo. You know what I mean? They play a pretty decent Ancient. Like they play a really good Nuke. Like why are we picking Anubis so much? We don't win it. You don't win it.
Yeah.
Like at some point you have to go back to the drawing board and say, right, this isn't working. Like, and it's not. It didn't here. It didn't against Furia and Masters Feminine 8. Like it didn't when they went against I believe MIBR and Masters Feminine 8. Like don't like when's the penny dropping here?
Yeah.
So that was my big thing. However, speaking of bad vetoes, let's get into the grand final, shall we?
We got a few minutes here to go over real quick. Let's do the scoreline first because oh my god.
Yep.
Navi Javelin's up against Enigma in the grand finals. And the maps are Inferno, Nuke, Mirage, and 13-6 on Inferno for Enigma Galaxy, and 13-0 on Nuke. Their map pick, by the way. Navi's not map pick. Enigma win it 2-0 in super convincing, super fast fashion. And yeah, this one was just we've got like 3 minutes to go over this one, and then we got to move on. But Vertigo is right there, man. Vertigo is right there.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Why?
All of us sitting there were
Why?
like, Vertigo was right there. You could have taken it.
Why? Yeah.
Where?
Vertigo was right there. You could have taken it. Enigma would have probably played you for the Nuke, right? They probably would have removed, honestly, Mirage, and then you could have removed Nuke and played the Ancient. Like Nuke was not played this whole tournament. Nuke was not played. Oh, my cam went blurry.
Your cam went blurry.
Rip.
Yeah, you just put your
Rip.
hand up close to it and then pull away. That should fix it.
Hold on. That never seems to fix it. That never seems to fix it.
Really?
So if I just go like this and then that, there you go. Right? So I just got to turn it off, turn it back on again, man. The old IT fix works every time. Anyway, so look, the Nuke is just, like Nuke was not played this entire tournament. The entire tournament, man. And yet they pick it here and they get smoked on it. And even the coach said in the end, what's his name? Is it Heisky or something like that? He was like, he was like, I'm drawing blank too, off the top of my head. He's like, thanks for picking Nuke against us. Like,
oh, Enigma Galaxy's coach.
Yeah,
Heisky.
Because he said it in the interview. Yeah, Heisky.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He's like, thanks for yeah, okay.
Thanks for picking Nuke. I was like, hey, what?
That's so
Vertigo's right there. Like, so the point I was trying to make earlier is that the formula to beat Enigma is there, right?
Yeah.
You've seen them struggle on Vertigo. You've seen them drop Vertigo, first off. Then you've seen them struggle on Mirage, right?
Yeah.
If you can somehow finagle the veto to get those maps in there, you probably have a chance to put them down. You got the Mirage, and you had the Vertigo available for this first pick.
Yeah.
So the formula was there. The formula for Navi was there, and they didn't do it. And that's what kills me, right? Is that like just you're given the case examples in front of you. You have to understand when an opportunity is in front of you, then how to take it, right?
Yeah.
Navi didn't do that. It's a mental block, man. It's still there. They cannot perform against this team. I don't know what it is. They can say we're confident, we practice, but they get on the big stage, and it's like that tiger in the cage, man. Bloodston realized he's not ready for this, right? Like that's how I feel like this is, because I've seen this story so many times. You've been given an examples by other teams now on land of how to beat them, and you don't follow the example. Like, so, they really did themselves in on the nuke pick. Like, it was an awful, awful, awful veto.
Yeah.
And they got rightly punished for it.
So that leaves with Nigma being the champions yet again. Congrats to them. Huge overall.
Do we put out a reward for like a team to beat them at an Impact LAN? Like, is it
No.
gonna have to get to like?
But they did. They got beat at the LAN. What do you mean they got beat at the LAN? Foxy beat them at the LAN. They won the match against them at the LAN.
I meant to like eliminated from the LAN. Like, actually eliminated from the LAN. Like,
Olga was talking about that, by the way. I think Olga,
what?
every single LAN, she's been eliminated by Nigma Galaxy.
That's no, man.
I think I genuinely
No,
man.
man.
They lost to FlyQuest at Dallas. No, they didn't. They didn't lose to Fly. They didn't lose to.
They lost to Nigma.
They lost to Nigma at Dallas because they were in the same group as Nigma.
Yeah.
Olga has only been defeated by Nigma Galaxy every scenario.
They wouldn't have been eliminated by Nigma at Dallas because Nigma went through the upper bracket and HSG went through the lowers.
Who'd they lose to? Check now. Hold on, I'm checking.
Was it Fluxo? Had to have been Fluxo.
It was Black Dragons. Okay, so
which what?
Olga was a bit wrong.
Black Dragons, not
Black Dragons.
Okay,
yeah, which became MIBR, I think. Kind of. Really. No, that core's dead. I forgot.
No, they broke up. They all broke up all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she got eliminated by Black Dragon season 3, but season 2 they got eliminated. She was on Furia. They lost to
and season 1. Season 1
they lost to Nigma.
Furia, they lost
remember
to
season
Nigma
1 in the finals. Yep. And then the standalone Valencia LAN last year, she was with Furia, and they lost that as well, I believe, to Nigma.
Yep, they lost the grand finals to Furia again. Season 2.
Yeah.
They lost to Furia in the finals.
Yeah.
Katowice.
You mean Nigma, but yeah.
Yeah. Katowice, they lost to Nigma in the semifinals.
Yep.
Season 3, they lost to Black Dragons.
Yep. And then season 4, they lose to
Nigma. So basically, every single match, Olga has participated in.
Pretty much.
Great fun. What a way to end that note on Valencia.
Yeah. Why dampen? What's wrong with you? But
we've got a big one up next. This is the big
fish. Nigma champions again, and I'm putting out a warrant for a team to actually eliminate them from an Impact LAN, please.
Yeah.
But aside from that, we got other piece of news to move on. Like you said, go ahead. I'll let you.
So a few weeks ago now, it's been a few weeks. It was on November 30th. There was an announcement coming in from ESL Impact, which used to be the DreamHack Twitter. Now it's ESL Impact Twitter because they've kind of fully moved it over. Basically giving us the what's what of year 3, the 2024 season, and there's a few big points to mention before we go off the rip. The first one is we lost the standalone LAN. They're just doing the season 5 and season 6 finals. Cash cups are still remaining the same, but they've also changed how the finals slot distribution has become. So season 5's slot distribution will be 4 European teams, 2 North American teams, 1 South American team, and 1 Asian qualifier team. So they've picked out 1 South American roster slot already.
Which makes no sense considering that second...
Hold.
Okay.
Season 6 in Stockholm, they have 5 European slots. 2 South American slots and 1 North American slot. So in that one, they've completely removed the Asian qualifier. They've removed a North American in favor of a South American to balance that out. The other thing that they mentioned that they did was they'd made it a larger prize pool. I believe they bumped it up from 136K to 150K. That was something I remember
Wait,
being
what?
mentioned. Like
They bumped it up from what?
the prize pool went up from 136 to 150, I believe.
No, it went up from 123.
123 to 150.
No, it's still 123,000. But Wikipedia still has this 123,000.
Somebody mentioned that it went up. I don't remember who. Maybe it was Gonzalo. Anyways,
I would have to actually pull the
yeah, I'd have to pull
tweet out.
to pull
The
up an
actual
article.
tweet out. I do have the tweet. I just need to
Oh, we have
get
all the
to
tweets.
the
Don't
link.
you worry.
Yeah, I have all the tweets. Yeah. Oh god,
So
yeah.
judging by Benny's reaction in the first like 20 seconds, you can understand where we stand on this. The
Awful.
overarching feedback was, why are you removing slots from rosters? Why aren't you adding more to compensate and add more European teams that way? The other kind of action that came through this is people started reaching out to ESL on LinkedIn, through email. They went, we cannot leave this just to Twitter. This has to show. We need to show a bigger reach. And a lot of, to be fair to it all, it's not like people are just hating. Like they're going, this is stupid, I hate this. No, they're coming in with constructive feedback, or constructive answers, or constructive criticisms, and going, listen, we really like that Impact's coming back for another year. However, this doesn't really look good. And so that's kind of where everything starts coming in. And then yeah, I mean there's a lot of good points that are coming around. I think the first big one is the removal, so the first big one is, it's another Asia qualifier. So Oceania and
Yeah, Oceania is
South Africa,
You guys
they're
are
done.
just wrecked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
it's
done.
unfortunate. And then they say something like, they say some bullshit like, I might break all the swear words in this.
Yeah,
part,
you've got it. Sure, you got 9 minutes. So
I just then they say something on the website like, adjustments to regional slots for season finals have been made to ensure that the best talent given the opportunity to compete at top tier events in response to low participation rates in certain regions during 2023. Qualification spots have been reallocated to areas with the highest competition. Mate, okay,
how
Asia
many
hasn't
canceled
had
events?
a cash cup in like
How many
ages.
canceled events?
They've had 5 canceled events in a row.
Yeah.
Then they played 4 in a row. Then they had 4 in a row canceled.
Yeah.
So if I stretch, listen, I'm doing the math real quick in my head. Okay, if I stretch back the last 17 cash cups, okay, the last 17, over half a year. Remember, there's only 26 in a year.
Yeah.
Guess how many have been played? Out of 17, the last 17 cash cups.
17.
At the last 17, guess how many? Just give me a number.
6.
You're very close. It's 5. Okay. They get a spot in season 5.
Yeah.
But South Africa hasn't, and South Africa's pulled 2, 4, 5, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2. They've had 3 canceled events in the last 17. Sure, I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, they played almost an entire year nonstop. Oceania has had 3 canceled events this year, and one of which I don't even think you can hold against them, because
no, they've
actually,
only had one.
They've had one, and you know what that one was that was canceled.
You know what
that one was? It was I Am Sydney. So it just pisses me off so much, man. So much it pisses me off.
And again, the player you mentioned, teams and everything. Oceania comes in with, it's essentially, it turns into a 10-man's, and like you've got teams, but like they're playing, they're still doing something, right? So that's one of those things of just like, even if you have 10 players there, giving them a qualifier potentially adds another like 15, 20 players, because other people will go, oh well, it wasn't really worth my time beforehand to play because I couldn't get a team together to do this, and it would have been too much of my day. However, qualifier potential to go travel on somebody else's dime to play a game I love. Sure, why not? And then again, it's the same thing for South Africa, where they show up. You have some of the teams that are there, like White Rabbit Amarallis and ATK are the 2 big teams now. But like,
who've been there all year long.
Yeah,
by the way.
And the whole thing is like the other teams are a bit more seasonal, because it comes in with when the other lands come around. Because
the
when the
BGS
other
gaming land.
BGS Gaming, when the Gamer Girl Fest
Gamer Girl,
lands come around.
yeah.
When those come around, teams go, oh yeah, we got to prep for an event. We're going to play the Cash Cup because this is an important thing. The Gamer Girl Fest didn't have like 8 teams or something. Like they had a whole qualifier. And like they had a bunch of teams show up. And it's so funny to me that you look at how many teams South Africa gets, and your comparison is South America, because South America, they have Masters Femenina, they have all of
playing Gamers Club.
Gamers Club. It's all Gamers Club over there, so you don't see the numbers on the Cash Cup side. Like you get 2 or 3 teams every single time.
Yeah.
But they're also still playing it. So anyways, you come in and you look at season 5's slot distribution and you go, okay, they add another European team. But if you're doing this to cut costs, so this is the whole thing is like, oh, maybe they're doing it to cut costs. You're flying in an extra European team when you could be flying in either an extra Brazil, when you could be flying in an extra South American team. Like you do not have to change the layout for Dallas because it actually makes it still makes economic sense.
Yeah, because South America is cheaper to fly from than Europe.
Then across. It boggles my mind. The season 6 one, having all those having a majority European, I get the cost savings there because you're flying them to Sweden. It's just not right to delete the open qualifier that you are trying to push because you're like, yes, we are representing everybody. It's a worldwide sport. Yeah. But the more ESL does this, the more they go, yes, it's worldwide. Yes, we are a monopoly because we have shown success and everything. The worse and the worse and the worse it continues to get. And it's like we all see how great and how in our minds, right? In the fans' minds, we go, okay, how much extra is it to do this in comparison to what you're saving by doing this? Because you're potentially losing out more in terms of engagement and getting the money in that way than you are by saving it by bringing in an extra other team. And we know Europe is really good. We know that because they do have high participation in Cash Cups. They have they have really good teams. You look at Nigma continuing to succeed. All 3 of the European teams that went to Valencia all got into the semifinals, right? Again, those matches were really close. And you're looking at a region that covers both all of Europe, right? As well as like the Russian areas. It used to be called CIS. It's not really that anymore. But like you're covering
but CIS is like merged zones into Europe in Impact, right?
So. And the crazy thing is you look at the major, for example, and those are 2 completely separate regions because of the player base sizes. So you've merged like the 2 largest player bases into one. Like no wonder you're gonna have a bunch of teams come through.
Yeah. And how many times have we said with the Fast Cups they're like 32 team competitions and like 20 of them alone are Russian?
Yeah, it's like a huge thing. So
it's huge.
It's just one of those things that like you look at the end of the day and like you kind of stack the deck against all the other regions. The fact that they're still doing relatively okay, like you look at the stalwart like FlyQuest Red, they're still really good. And I mean, they 7th, 8th this time around. They made 3rd, 4th in Dallas. They're probably going to make. I would project them to be 3rd, 4th in Dallas again because home crowd and everything like that. I project whoever comes in with them. I'm gonna too early to tell prediction. I'm gonna say Shimmer, Tsunami, Sirens. One of those 2 are gonna come in and they're gonna show. They're gonna show up because it's a big thing for them on home soil. We don't know year to year where these events are gonna go, right? So it's one of those things. Like it could be
that's
last
the other
year.
Thing. Yeah,
and just like you have 1 slot, so whoever makes 2nd in NA, like that is the land for them. That is it. There's no if FlyQuest Red continue to dominate, and I don't know. It's like you can't fault the logic of saying Europe is big. Europe has a lot of teams. We want a lot of Europeans. But taking the slots away does not solve the problem.
No, it only exacerbates the problem in regions outside of Europe. You're saving the money by cutting the standalone land. Okay? That's what you're saying. So the problem I have is economically, what I'm going to admit on the podcast is I think this is the beginning of the end of Impact. I put it on in one of these tweets. I said, this feels like somebody Sath said this feels like the beginning of the end for NACS. Not gonna lie, why should orgs come to NACS if there's nothing to win for NA teams, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously FlyQuest is the dominant team at the top, and for a lot of the the I guess pre-impact, that was kind of the pull, right? Is
Yeah.
that, I mean, FlyQuest are just going to dominate after Dignitas died out of the scene, so like why just try to compete against them, right? And I think it is like, if ESL are this is what I said, if ESL are cutting slots and giving them to EU to cut costs at season 6, as well as removing the $100,000 land, you have to think the willingness to invest in women's Counter-Strike from ESL is winding down. My guess is that the Impact Circuit, if we get an Impact Circuit in 2025, it will be an even lesser shallow of its former self, much like how 2024 is slated to be, and a shadow of 2023's, right? That's what it feels like. And if you look at the viewership numbers, everyone freaking talks about the viewership numbers. If you look at the viewership numbers for Valencia, they were poor.
Yeah.
They were horrid.
Yeah.
So they were probably the worst of the 6 lands that we've had, right? So I do feel like, unfortunately, this is the beginning of the end of the Impact scene. Long story short.
Yeah.
However, the logic doesn't make sense to me. If the investment's there, and the only guess is that the investment isn't there, and that's why they're making these decisions.
Yeah.
If it is there, though, right? If the sponsors have still poured in and everything's still there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I would say this makes absolutely no sense, because it's the point of the mission statement, and this is what I kept trying to hammer into morons on Twitter, is that the point of the mission statement is that it is a inclusive space for women or women identifying or non-binary genders or other marginalized genders, whatever it is an inclusion space for them to compete in, right? And that is why the mission was so successful in 2021 and 2022. If you look at how far we've come with how much the player base in North America has grown, it is extremely impressive, right? It has literally thrown a lifeline to a scene that was all but dead.
Yeah.
Now they have something to play for. The biggest problem that's my thing. They promote this GG for All initiative. It's an initiative launched to combat negativity, toxicity within the esports industry and foster diversity and inclusivity. How are you inclusive if over half the land is European? Because the number 2 team from South America that you're cutting just knocked off your champions into the lower bracket, right? Like that wouldn't happen in season 6 now, right? So
it would have happened in season 6. It wouldn't have happened in season 5 because there's two South American slots.
You're right. But either way, the point is you're cutting that from the land, right? It makes no sense. And there are loads of tweets. I mean, Tactius had one, right? Marcos Castillo down in Brazil. He said, here are your top 3 watched games for each season.
All Brazilian.
Season 1, 3 Furia games. Season 2, 2 Fury games and the B4 game versus ATK.
Yeah.
Season 3, B4 versus Navi, and then the other 2 were actually no Brazilian teams at all, right?
Right.
Shimmer versus FlyQuest, Navi versus Enigma.
Katowice versus FlyQuest. That's good. Right. That's good.
Fantastic.
That's good.
That was the number 2 watch game, and that was a great series.
It was really good.
Katowice, top 2 are Furia games, right? Valencia, MIBR versus CLG, and then the 2 Furia games. Like, Brazil's bringing the numbers, man. They're bringing the numbers. Gala's had like, 20,000, 25,000 people.
He always brings numbers. He always brings numbers.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Good.
So
it's good that he brings numbers. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So my point is, like, it makes no sense for you to cut the Brazilian spot then, but it's one of these things where prior to the LAN, right?
Yeah.
South Africa has 3 spots out of the 16 next year. Okay. But they represent 35% of the semifinalists. So it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But so my point is, like, it's the 2 sides of the same coin, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me, right? Well, it's not profitable, and teams will look at it. They want to make it more profitable. if you're investing in women's Counter-Strike, you're not doing it for a profit, mate. I hate to break it. There is no profit here.
No.
Okay? I hate to say that. I hate to break the truth to everybody. Women's Counter-Strike is not profitable. Okay? Esports in general isn't profitable. CS has managed to scoot its way around being profitable, part of with the Lavur agreement, right?
Yeah.
We've seen just how damaging that's been to ecosystems globally, though. I mean, North America is practically dead because I rag on Advanced and I might rag on ECL, but mate, they got nothing to play for. They really got nothing to play for. So, and that's why the regions are the way they are, right? And so you can't tell me, oh well, people are worried about the viewership. They want to invest as much. It's not profitable. It's not going to be profitable. Okay, you should know that going in. If you have any other mindset outside of that, going into investing in women's counter, you are a fool. I have a bridge to sell you. So that brings me to the point is, it has to be about the mission statement then, right? You have to be doing this for a greater purpose. There needs to be a greater purpose that's causing you to want to invest the money into the scene, right? That purpose is the inclusivity. That purpose is the GG for all. If that's the case, these decisions are completely the antithesis of that purpose, right? That is the point. Is that you're making a inclusive scene more exclusive. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
You cannot do that, right? So that's why, to me, this decision is a huge failure from ESL. It's a complete disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. I honestly think whoever sat down and made this decision probably should lose their job for making this decision. I'm going to be that harsh because this is awful, absolutely awful, and it doesn't make any sense. Like it 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 gives teams in North America nothing to play for. You risk North America going back and dying again because now you've
Well,
only made a
that's the whole
spot for
thing, right?
FlyQuest. Yeah, you've only made a spot for FlyQuest. The South American scene is already struggling. Like even before Impact coming in, they were already struggling. Like
Yeah.
we went from League of Feminine and Masters Feminine being this huge, expansive tournament, almost a monthly tournament back in like 2020,
Yeah.
right? From Gamers Club. It's now twice a year, and this time we even had to mush the two League of Femininas together because we just
Didn't have time.
it's one of these, yeah, and it's one of these things where it's like it's not looking great down there, right? And Impact is not having the change needed to revive that scene. That scene has shrunk.
I think a
So
big part of it as well is the esports winter that we all have kind of started to really see is kicking
yes,
up.
yes,
And so I get the cost savings and everything like that, but it 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 feels like there are better solutions, and especially when you just got huge investment from a huge backing. You got huge backing from a very a very rich patronage. Like there's money
yeah,
there for them to spend on it. It is
yep,
just the willingness is not there anymore. So everybody
yeah,
else is going to struggle, and we're going to go through the same cycle again. I don't
yep.
think we're going to see huge investment in esports again for a while. Um, it's just one of
It's
those
going to
things.
be at least 2 years.
It's going to
Like
be a
at least
while.
2 years.
And listen, if we can if we can manage to run small events and keep it kind of going, that'd be great. But I think if you're a player, you kind of have to look at this and go, it's the era of
Yeah.
Impact is kind of as quickly as it rose, it is beginning to wane unless they really seriously
Yes.
make changes in the next little bit. It's not going to be here for much longer. So
Yeah.
I think that's the
Absolutely.
best way to kind of end that segment is just say 2024 is going to be an interesting year.
The only other, yeah, you're right. The only other point I was going to make is that it makes no sense that like Oceania is still not getting a spot because this is a team that they made the final of your qualifier over all the other Asian teams. They made fourth at IESF. Like,
but again, they look
it's
at that and
competitive.
they go HSG has one of the best players from 2022 on it. They look what they
Oh,
just
I
did
agree,
against
but
Sigma.
and I'm not. But that's the point. Like, my
They
point is not. You
they
can't
have given
listen.
away the idea of a
Listen.
GG for all. They've
You
given
can,
that away
you're
for
you're 100% correct, but you cannot rob Peter to pay Paul. Okay, the same crap is happening in the tier 1 scene.
yeah.
Okay, you notice that there's a big event coming up in like January. I think they've shuffled some spots around.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is. It might be like IEM Katowice.
Katowice, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like North America has like three teams going there, and it's like, oh great. and people are like, you should have more teams. Man, you got like 16 teams going to the event. Shut
Yeah.
your ass up.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
saw
one of
that.
these
I
things.
laughed a little
It's
bit. Because
yeah.
they don't
So
care.
that's the point.
It's so
So
centric to them, right? That's, anyways. That's,
this is I want to read out real quick. I know we have to go, but I
yeah.
think what a really good note to end this on is the two tweets. And the first by Marie, I think it's Mayerwall. I
Yep.
might be saying that incorrectly, so forgive me, Marie, if that is. And then what I quote tweeted her, and
Yep.
she said, "This is another false start for female CS as the number of LAN events are diminished, leaving some regions out. Catch 22s like this are keep plaguing female esports, and it's hard for teams and players to really fully invest time." Uh, or to invest full time in game momentum when it just blows up in their faces.
Yep.
That's the problem, right? We had the Valencia DreamHack Showdown. The winner was going to get in the DreamHack Open. You remember that was, I think, Team Originum. They might have still been under Besiktas back then. I think they were
Yeah.
under Team Originum though.
Long
By then,
time ago.
yeah, they made it to the LAN. They played somewhat competitively at the LAN. Yes, they went out in last place, but they got the experience that they needed playing a mixed LAN on a tier 2 level, right? Like it's a
Yeah.
gateway in there for them, right? And
Oh, this is
it's
a
one of
really
these
long
things
tweet,
where
Benny.
I think that's the point. Like that is the point that needs to be made is that it's another false start. We've had Copenhagen Games come and go, WSG. And that's where my tweet came in. So my tweet
You are not
just
reading this
says,
whole thing, by the way.
I can read it quick. So I just said, look, I've always said this. It needs to be consistent investment. The scene has had plenty of. I just mentioned ESWC, WSG, Copenhagen Games came and went, right? But no more. Nobody's hung around for more than like 4 or 5 years, right? And you look at change. If you want to make change, and change is slow. It takes a while, right? It is extremely we know that first off, investment at grassroots level produces results up the chain. If you want
Yeah.
a really good example of that, English football pyramid and the German football pyramid are great examples of that,
Yeah.
right? The so if you have a more exclusive circuit, it's only going to set back the women's scene. What the women's scene needs, I'm not reading it, I'm now paraphrasing it, but I am going to go into reading it. Women's CS needs the same longevity and fortitude, right? The whole reason the NWSL are doing well in America is because they managed to navigate for 2 decades independently until the sport got big, right?
Yeah.
Title 11 is a big thing here. Or, I'm sorry, Title 9. I put the Roman numeral wrong. But Title 9 is a big thing, right? In America, it basically says if you invest in collegiate sports for men, you must have the equal investment in the women's sports, right?
Right.
That's a requirement of the colleges, right?
Yeah.
Now this is when you're seeing things like women compete full time for salaries, why the NWSL is pouring talent out of college into the league, things like the WNBA is doing the same, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Title IX took 50 years to get us to this point, right? And I'm not saying we need 50 years in esports, but you need time. 2 years is not enough, right? It cannot be 3 years on, 1 year off, 2 years on, 1 year off, right? And it doesn't. That's why I said it can't be this focus on ROI, because tier 2 doesn't give you ROI, tier 3 doesn't give you ROI, right?
Yeah.
There's no ROI for a Fragadelphia event, right? But the reason Fragadelphia is so big is because they managed to put on a community-run tournament for $30,000, right? And pull in these talents and give them something to play for, right? Women's esports needs that, okay? So the catch-22 is is exactly what the tier 2. It's what ECL teams in North America are experiencing. There's only one player in town for them, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, ESL Face It Group, they need competition. They need it in the space in the women's circuit because that's the only thing that they needed it at the tier 2 level as well. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe it's something like CERN, or not CERN. Saraside said, where they phase ESL out to bring in Gamers 8 because they're both technically owned by members of the royal family. Lord knows, but women's CS isn't at the level where there's going to be return on investment yet, right?
No.
So there's just not enough built into it to be that. So it has to be a passion project. So my question is, where are the people who have the passion to run this league, because these decisions are not made from that passion. This is not the case, right? So, um, I, that's where I stand.
Yeah.
And I always look at it and say, there's a great quote I retweeted today, Parks. I think you liked the retweet even, and I think ESL need to take a note out of that book, right? And that is that discipline, okay, is your future self relying on your current self to keep the promises that your past self made. Okay, that's what women's esports and ESL really need to do. They need the future years, starting with 2024. They need to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
They need to rework it, expand it, right, to 12 team lands, to keep the promises that they made back in 2021 about what they wanted to do with women's esports. And if that's the case, then the scene will explode. But if this is the trend they're going to go for with ROI and all this other crap, then this is going to be the end of not Brace for Impact, but ESL Impact. Yeah.
All right.
And that's where I think we're headed.
That's the best way to finish this off. We are way over time. I was gonna ask you what you're watching. I don't care anymore. It's the holidays. I don't.
Nothing. I'm watching Ping's Minecraft server, mate. It's the off season. I'm enjoying it for 4 weeks.
Have you still been playing a bunch of Minecraft still?
I haven't. I actually been playing Civ 6. A lot of Civ 6. So I'm gonna go back into Minecraft.
I picked up the finals the other day for it's free shooter.
It looks so good.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Partner with Kim. She plays it.
Oh well, so. I apparently Owen's been messaging me while we've been recording the podcast, like, hey, you want to play? Because I told him I was like, I'd play with you if I have time.
Right.
And we were doing the podcast, so I couldn't get back to him. But
we're way over time. I apologize, but there was a lot.
There's a lot to go over. Lot to go over. So that is going to be the end of the episode, though.
Programming note is that we're going to be back next week with another episode.
Yes. So because of the delay, without getting an episode last week, we're going to make it up. We're just going to have 2 episodes in a row, 2 main episodes in a row. We're not going to have any bonus episodes. We'll kind of recap everything else aside from the big 2 points. These were big enough that they had to kind of have their own episode. So cash cups, other news that kind of happens in between. And then we'll be looking towards 2024 for another episode, and we'll have a bunch kind of leading up to that. We're not going to say anything yet on that, but they'll definitely. There's going to be some stuff coming up next week. I think there's going to be some cooking for sure. I know I'm cooking, Benny. I'm definitely cooking. So
I'm probably cooking too.
Good. All right.
I might by the start of the next season cook an announcement. I'll put it that way.
That'd be dope. All right.
That's what I'm trying.
Let's get out of here though. I hope everybody has a good night. Thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe, like the videos, show us that you appreciate what we do and that you're here to support Women's CS, because that is what we need now more than ever. Thank you very much. Bye for now. Take care.